Yo, this is Ozzy from Ozzy Boyds, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
I'm John Feely of Feely's Clutch, and you are watching Reptiles Unplugged.
This is Will Rose from Royal Canadian Reptiles, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
Guys, it's KB Reptiles.
Team Helga.
Team Beard.
And you're watching
Reptiles Unplugged.
It's Justin from Kobylka Reptiles, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
Nick with Renowned Reptiles here, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
It's your boy Harry Wayne from Royal Canvas Exotics, and you're tuning into Reptiles Unplugged.
You're Triple B, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
What's going on,
what's up, everybody?
How we doing? Man, another Wednesday, here we are.
Got coming around fast these days.
They are. Man, the week's flying by, There's been there's been a lot of lives lately. The debate recently, we're here to tell you that hopefully we can be better than the debate. We'll free
Joel
everybody.
Took a lot of Adderall earlier, so he won't fall asleep.
We're ready to go. Thanks everybody for coming. We got Elite in the house. How we doing? Bald Morph 514. What's up? How we doing?
Another
Dale?
close race for first tonight, but somebody was like 76 minutes early, I think it was. So they win.
Cow. Yeah. 76 minutes early, man. Nice.
Right. Well, Joel, I think we should bring in our renowned guest tonight.
Yes. We got a great guy tonight, right?
Yep.
I guess it's his time to shine.
Definitely.
Wait, whoa, I screwed that up.
No, it's all good.
My time to shine.
No, I got it, Joel. I got it.
Okay, yeah, it was my time to shine. I apologize. Justin, man, how we doing tonight?
Good. I'm going to try to interrupt you at least as often as last night with the debates.
It was 76 times, I think.
Is that what it was?
Right.
That was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. Yeah. I stopped watching it. It was tough. So hopefully tonight won't be tough.
I made a drinking game out of it. So
it ended quickly for you, then I'm sure. Finished the bottle fast.
That's great.
But in lighter news, ball pythons, man. How's the season, man? How's everything going? It's a weird time right now. What's business as usual at Kobylka Reptiles?
Well, this is our first full season in this building. We're loving it, and we're getting into the really fun part of the year now, where just about every day is the really cool clutches and just a lot of excitement. It's a little bit of it's really a big time high this time of year. We just come and run down every morning, check what's coming out of the incubator. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
awesome.
I bet. Yeah, this got to be a great time of year.
Yeah, so you got your coffee, just opening up those tubs, are coming at some point.
Yeah. Here we go. Right?
That's what we live for. It's like we're farmers, and this is the harvest season.
Right.
It is.
Right? We put in all the work. The
Christmas.
hurricane didn't take us out. We survived the famine, and now we get to harvest our crop.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. It's such a perfect analogy, though. It really is. All year long. This is the time of year. Seasonally. I know. You probably get clutches year round, but I bet a majority are this-ish area.
Big time.
That's got to be similar to everybody else. So it's the reptile Christmas right now. I love it. And Instagram has changed that for us, because now it's like every day there's like a new novel snake that somebody posts, and I'm just like, what? This is crazy. So I mean, how's that? How's doing that? How is consistently posting snakes that blows everybody's mind? How's that feel for you every year, man?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of pressure. I feel a lot of pressure.
Right,
I probably shouldn't. I probably should not. But I feel like every year I've got to beat not only I got to meet the expectation of the internet, right? And then I also have to try to beat it in some way. Because problem is if everybody's assumed I'm way further ahead than what I am, and so I'm always showing stuff, and people are like, well, but don't you already have those like 3 years ago? No, like this is really good right now. But people just, they have this perception that it's so far ahead that it's hard to beat that. sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Anytime I see you post something, that's the immediate thought that I have is, well, wait a second, what isn't he showing
Yeah,
us?
if he's showing us
see,
this,
that's what
what is
I'm
he
talking
not
about. You
showing?
and ruin it for me.
Right.
Man, and thanks, Troy from Best Dressed Balls is in the house. Before we get into serious business, he does have a semi-serious question, and he threw in a super chat. So thank you, Troy.
Oh, sweet.
Justin, if you were in a tag team match versus Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, you can only pick one teammate between Joel and Adam. Who would it be?
Well, you know, you got to give it to Troy for asking a really serious small pipeline question.
Right. I mean, I know who I would take.
I gotta say Adam. Adam. Maybe just the beer, but you look like you could throw down a lot more than.
yeah, absolutely. No. I know who I would take.
So
the shirt, the shirt's
yeah,
metal.
right,
so
right.
That I think gives me like +5 in my attack for.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Your attack rating's high.
Yes, Dungeons and Dragons. No, joking. Oh man. So,
yeah, thanks for that, Troy. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Glad we got started off on how feeble I am again. So, anyways, no, man. Appreciate you obviously coming in tonight, chat. Obviously, thank you everybody for showing up. Been a lot of fun, and this is now your third time on. I think on our channel now. So thank you again for continually coming back for us, because I know this is it's kind of late for you. You're still at the shop. Looks awesome, by the way. Backdrop.
yeah,
Dude,
I'm always down here
so
till
nice.
midnight anyways. Thank you.
Right. Okay. There you go.
I'll go.
Right.
You're not giving me up.
We're giving you an excuse. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
But a full year now in the facility. Is there anything that you've learned in this year that you would have done differently with the facility, like setup wise or anything?
Right. Honestly, not much. It's the third facility I've built now. And so I had a lot of opportunities to, make the previous ones. The only thing I change about this one is I always think a little too small. I always do. And you have to, when I built this building, I felt like I was really making it way bigger than I could ever want and everything. But once you get into it, I'm always thinking like, well, it'd be nice if we had an apartment up above where I could, put somebody if they came and visited for a weekend, where I wish I built another, 25 feet off the back so that if I ever wanted to breed some other species of reptile, I'd have room for it. And
monitors or something.
Always right.
Yeah.
Always just thinking outside of,
Yeah.
But when you're building, you're just trying to fix the problems that you had previously. So it's hard to think ahead like that. But rule of thumb is always make it way bigger than you think you need. Just
3 times
give yourself
nice, right?
opportunities. Right. Find things to do. And if it sits empty, no big deal. But the cost to add space at the beginning is far less than later.
Right.
Gotcha. Cool.
But yeah,
now,
it's perfect for what I need. It's great.
And as far as like the heating and stuff like that goes, are you on like a fully smart system where you're tapped in with like your phone and
Yeah, it's all automated. We have four different units in this building. One for snakes, one for lobby and office areas. So we have to like work in the snake room temperatures. It's kind of nice.
Right.
Then we have one for the rodents, and then we have one for like the big warehouse area and everything. So we have all these different systems going on, but works well.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Gotta love
going on there.
Gotta love automation too. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's got to be a huge. Was your last facility this automated as this one?
No, not at all. No, it
Right.
was
Okay. Yeah. So this has to be a huge improvement then.
for sure.
This facility moving over. Right.
A lot more peace of mind.
Yeah, I bet.
It'll ding my phone if anything's. We have I don't know if you can see here, security cameras above my shoulder here.
Okay.
So I'm sitting at my desk, I can see those at any time of the day, and they're recording 60 days worth on the hard drive, and so it's just nice. Feel a lot of security.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's got to be I feel like a top priority, especially with these animals.
Right.
Especially with genetics, moving tubs, stuff like that. A lot of hidden recessives. It's nice to have some footage out there. That's for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
We've used it. It's been good. So
Yeah, those little things that make a huge difference in operation, stuff like that. I like
For sure.
learning nuts and bolts of that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I
time
like
savers.
asking. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
time
looking at
savers.
all the automated piece thingies, I just barely got in some temperature stuff that reports to the internet, like making little adjustments to make things easier. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
less
efficient,
stressful. Yep.
Yeah, cleans
For
up your
sure.
day, and that's what it's all about. I don't want to hate my day, when it's revolving around
Right.
some snakes. That would be a bummer.
Well, the thing
So,
is like little mistakes. Everything's dependent on a few degrees, and that's
right,
scary.
right,
Yeah.
right,
There's a lot of ways it is. I mean, even if you have a temperature spike of 5 degrees in the middle of your breeding season, you could end up with 150 slugs, or 10 clicks of
right,
the slugs or whatever.
right.
If there is an incubator failure, God forbid, that's that would devastate. That would devastate you if you had
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
incubator full of
That's a
eggs.
big deal.
So much I can't even talk when I'm thinking about it.
Right. You're getting all
Yeah,
like,
brutal.
like your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Brutal.
Right,
Like it's
right.
just like you hope you're not in reach of a gun when that happens. So it's that bad.
Yeah.
But so
Man,
yeah, that's what you
I
have to
couldn't
be
imagine.
really careful, and you have extra layers if you can. Get that as soon as you can.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Incubator, that's a priority that's often underlooked at. I feel like, sensors and
Underlooked,
monitoring and fail safes with the incubator. That's all your work, all the year.
All of it.
That's the whole year right
You
there.
take the
It's a one
entirety of
point.
all your work, and it goes all into one little tiny room that has
Yeah.
to be the right temperature or it doesn't work. And like
Right.
you cannot stress
That's
that
a safe.
too much. That probably
Yeah,
Right.
that's a safe, man. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. That's something I feel like I underlooked when I first got into this. I was breeding out of one of those like chicken hoovabators or whatever that is, like the
too.
styrofoam. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, this is crazy. This is how this works. And then progression, obviously, but.
Yeah,
Man,
I did a
can't
pair of
imagine
leopard
what that
gecko
takes.
eggs like that were a surprise.
Yeah.
My wife and I got them, and all of a sudden we're like, what do we do? We need an incubator. Ran to like the store. Of course, the chicken one's the only one they've got. So it's like, here we
Right.
go. Like,
Yeah, there it is.
and I
There it
learned in that experience never to use one of those for any eggs that I actually care about. So
Right. Yeah, scary, man. That's a scary device.
It is.
That is a scary device. But kind of, I guess, everybody's here. We're getting a little warmed up. I feel like the nuts and bolts are kind of what we were going to kind of dive into here in the beginning was about, since we're talking about breeding, is breeding weight on some of these females. And we were kind of joking about before the start of the show, breeding consent. What is the ball python breeding consent?
the age of consent.
Yeah, age of consent. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you shed some light into that? It's an often
it's
debated
important.
topic.
Yeah, it's important that we talk about this in the age of Me Too, for sure.
Right. Yeah,
Sure,
absolutely.
important.
Is there time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get this right.
So, I've always been kind of nonchalant about it, I would say. A lot of people, put a lot of emphasis on size or weight. And I look at it as, first of all, what's going on in the wild? Which in the wild, whenever a pair gets together, the male's probably going to try to breed her,
Right.
If she's of any size at all. He's not putting her on a scale first or asking her age. So,
Right.
So you got to start with that in mind, is that that in the wild they're going to breed at weird times. So the next question would be is there an age that somehow hurts them, right? Because we're obviously trying to engineer this correctly. And based on my experience, I've not seen if you breed a girl before she's ready, nothing will happen. That's just what it comes down to. Nothing will happen if she's not ready.
Right. Okay. That's what you're saying. Right. Right.
If her body's not mature enough to produce, she won't produce. And what have you've not caused any trouble. In fact, it's actually pretty amazing because you can get lots of girls to actually eat just breeding them once before they're even ready. It's got nothing to do with actually getting a clutch. It's just, hey, I'll put a male in there so they don't forget that biology exists and that they've got to eventually lay eggs. And so
there's something going on here.
Right. As soon as you put a male in there, whether he breeds her or not, next thing she knows is slamming food again because she wants to lay eggs.
Right.
Someday, you know.
Yeah. And
their body's
so I
ready.
know a lot of people are going to ask, so you're talking about the 1,000-gram wall when you're talking about that kind of like, because it's very common, 1,000 to 1,200 grams.
I don't pair that early, but I will pair in the 1,200, 1,300 gram
1,200.
range. And like I said, the male a lot of times won't even breed her. A lot of times I'll throw a young male in there. I'm just trying to kind of get them going a little bit. And just the fact that they were together, a lot of times will kick her back into feeding mode. And then when she gets a couple more 100 grams, she'll actually lay that season.
Right.
Yeah, she'll start putting down more food.
Right. There's just no rules about this. The reality is if she's eating hard and you breed her at 1,300 grams, she'll be 1,700 grams by the time she lays.
Yeah, right.
That's the reality.
Right.
Because they put on so many meals between that first breeding and ovulation that they just pack on the weight. So it's like, I guess the question is, do you breed at 1,500 grams or do you get the clutch at 1,500 grams? What's the rule? And my rule is there is no rules.
Right.
Yeah, it's
kind of know your females. Right, exactly. And like you said, nature's got its own way of working it out. And your the vlog or the blog that you put out, I like how you worded it basically of like this is 1,000 years of evolution, right? To protect the snake. So it's not going to break any rule that's going to purposefully kill it, right?
Harm it in any
or
way.
harm it or do anything like that, right?
Yeah, if they died when they got bred too soon, there'd be no animals left alive in the wild.
Right.
Yeah, if that was one of their situations or strategies that they used, it wouldn't be very functional.
The other thing is, the concern is that they're going to get egg bound if they're too small. But in my experience, with only one exception, every egg bound girl I've ever had has been a proven breeder.
Right. Okay. Never a first time breeder.
Yeah, only once.
Right.
And she was on the small side, but for the most part, like every other small girl I've ever bred, they just bind. And I don't even know if that was the reason for the one, but for the most part, egg binding happens in very well established proven breeders. And I don't know the reason necessarily, but it may have something to do with they laid several clutches and maybe their oviducts are stretched out a little bit. They get a little folding going on.
Right.
That's my theory. I don't think it has anything to do with their size or the size of their clutch necessarily.
Maybe the level of production.
Yeah.
The consistency of the production.
Have you seen a correlation to females that breed young and then later on go to egg to, have egg binding or anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting topic and something that I think as you're new in the hobby, it's easy to get caught up on because you're looking at your 300-gram female and you're like, every time I feed you, like, what's this magic number, right?
And
right.
I can see that actually. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's why it's often talked about and debated, and and it is a topic that unfortunately allows the keyboard warriors to be very strong in their opinions.
Convictions. Right? I would say convictions on specific weights. And rather than, I feel like the general rule is take care of your animal, and it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Feed them when they want to eat. They get up to, pretty big. Put a male in there. Let nature take its course. If nature doesn't take its course, then you probably should a little too young, to keep feeding them. And it's hard. You're right, though. When people are first start, it is. They're just watching this girl grow up, and they're just thinking, when can I make this happen? When can I make this happen?
Right.
I get that. I guess. Yeah, it's hard for me to look at that way now because
now you have so many.
Bunch of girls getting up to size, and I'm not counting their weights on any of them. I don't even weigh them. I don't ever weigh my girls unless I'm selling them. I just you look pretty big. Let's just see if it works.
Pair her up. Right. Yeah. So she's off food right now. Maybe she wants to breed. Pair her up.
Right.
Right.
Then breed. Then feed. Yeah, and I believe that there's a significant role that feeding then plays too, obviously, in breeding. And I think that's maybe something a little overlooked too. Is there anything advice you have kind of on feeding scheduling? Or, I mean, is there something that you'd consider?
I don't know if I have the answer to that, and it's something that I've played around with a lot. So I played with the idea of just feeding them once a week, one appropriate size meal through the breeding season. And I've had good success with that. I've also tried to just pound them. Like if they're just crazy eating, I'm just gonna keep feeding them twice a week, give them an extra meal here and there, whatever, just a lot more than they would.
Right.
And I've found mixed results, honestly, because I think generally speaking, they respond well to being fed hard during the breeding season.
Right.
But if you feed them too hard and you're not in the breeding season, you can just kick them off feed and you can, sacrifice the whole year.
Right.
So I think it's it's a weird balance.
Right.
It's a weird balance.
On the
and I think you can also overfeed them to some females. I think if you overfeed them, they get so fat that they don't produce follicles.
They're over it. Right.
They're
so
unhealthy.
I think, it's like an overweight human. Right.
Yeah. Anything unhealthy is not going to do as well, right? Production-wise or whatever. So my strategy more or less is just to feed them well throughout the year. But then when I start to breed them, if they've had a lock or two and they want to eat hard, I'll start feeding them a little bit more, just those.
Right.
But not a ton. Just, a few extra meals here and there. So their biology is like, hey, I can put weight on. If I grow follicles, I'm not going to be stuck without meals and sacrificing my health in order to lay. I think that's kind of the psychology of it. I mean, I'm not thinking that, but that's what their body's thinking is like, can I make this work? And so if you give them a few extra meals, their body's like, yeah, I can make this work. We can do this. We have the reserves. If you don't give them those extra meals, they don't. And if you feed them, they don't. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was listening to some older podcasts, and one of the biologists was really talking about stretching out the feeding, like basically saying that even the once a week feeding schedule was too much, right? They like to push out 10 days or even more sometimes, right? And they found out, like, through the studies that they were doing with the sampling size, that those females produced healthier, not necessarily larger clutches, but at least the clutches they did produce, those babies were turned on and going. And I don't know if the sampling size was, maybe large enough, because that was another thing they followed up, basically saying like they needed more and more data to see what that kind of lines up to be. So
I'd really curious to know what this is like in the wild for them, as far as what their feeding schedule is likely like.
Yeah, it'd be amazing to put like a tracker on one, right? And track it for a couple of years and
know the real life cycle.
Right. Because I have to assume. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wonder if, like, in the breeding season, it corresponds with the rainy season there, in Africa.
Right.
I spent a year in Benin, where they're from, when I was 19 years old. And it gets chilly, it gets rainy for a whole season during their breeding season. I wonder if the rain doesn't drive rodents into their holes even more and give them more feeding opportunities during that breeding season.
Right.
Which is part of the reason why they cold seek, in our tubs and everything, because they're trying to, they need that coolness.
Right.
But no, I'd love to know how they do it in the wild. I think for me, practically, I have to feed around a weekly schedule, because we got employees, we got schedules, we got stuff to do. If you make it every 5 days or every 8 days, then I can't do it on a week. It just screws everything.
Right.
I got to do it on one day of the week just to make it practical. So.
Practical. Right. For the management of that. Right. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fascinating topic, feeding. You never understand how many different factors really go into your breeding program and what you're really putting into your animals and stuff like that. So it's always nice to hear from somebody who's dealt with a lot of rats in his time, what that's like. You've dealt with more rats than snakes, really. So
I'm the Hitler of rats. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're not loved, I'll tell you that.
Never mind. I had some other political joke I was going to follow that up with, but we shall go back to more relevant questions. Brian Hamstra, he had a great question. With talking about feeding, getting females ready, everything like that. So first, to start this off, do you use a ultrasound on all of your females? And at what size would you throw in a male then?
So that's like a chicken for the egg question. And this is a question that's kind of plagued me since the moment I got into this industry, is understanding the correlation between breeding and follicles. There's lots of breeders I talk to that they don't pair anything until they get follicles, until they see it on the ultrasound.
Okay.
I've kind of tried that, and I was like just appalled at my results. I felt it was very, very bad for me.
Right.
To me, I feel like almost all the girls grow follicles in response to being bred.
Yeah.
That's just my experience.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people tell me otherwise. I just can't seem to replicate it in my own collection where I see good follicles growing without breeding girls.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a little bit, but for the most part, if I don't breed them, I don't get if I wait an extra month or two before I would breed, just let them grow follicles, I don't get a clutch. That's just kind of how it works on my side.
Right,
A few exceptions. So for me is I pick when I want to breed my girls, and I go off their schedule. If they've ever laid before, then I have a schedule. Boom. It's nice and easy. It's the ones that have never laid that I don't even know, what cycle they're on. I typically will just, start them when they're at the weight and eating well or whatever, and just put a pairing on them, see how their body responds. If they start eating extra hard, if they start really slamming, I'm like, okay, well, she's telling me
attention.
Something.
Right.
And I'll wait a month, 45 days, put the ultrasound on her, see what's going on. Oh, she's growing little follicles. All right, put her in again. If I wait a month and she did nothing, like there's nothing follicle wise, I'll think, wait another month and try again. I'm saying I'm just kind of letting them tell me. But I always start with
what's going on.
Right. I start with the breeding.
You don't wait on a follicle.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, then to kind of dive a little deeper into that question with a follow-up, at what point, like follicles get up to what size for you before you either abandon it or go real hard with the male, right? At what's that cutoff of where you're like, all right.
These are the real questions here. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
This is where like the gut of it really is, because you don't know it has the answers.
How do you describe this?
Right. This is
experience. They're just trying, right? They're just trying things.
Yep.
And sometimes I try something, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that. And sometimes you try it and it works, but you don't know if that's the reason why it worked. You just got
right.
So
Yeah.
I'm always trying stuff. It's kind of the nature of my success probably, is I'm always trying stuff and trying to understand, if I do this a little different, what's the result? So usually I think you can stop breeding around 2.5. If I get one good breeding at 2.5, probably stop until they ovulate, which is a long time. That could probably be 45 to 60 days on average between the last pairing at 2.5 to ovulation. But sometimes they stall out and stop there. They'll stall out and get up to 2.5.
Maybe they needed
to
keep
stay at 2.5, or they'll get to 3.5, and they'll just sit there and sit there and sit there. And I try to monitor that and hit them again if they need it. If I see them kind of just like, boy, they should be pushing on, but they're not, I'll try to put another pairing on them. I found that if you just stop breeding at 2.5, there's probably a 15% of your females will absorb, will not go.
Right.
I don't even know what the percentage is. It depends on a lot of other factors too, a lot of weather, temperature stuff. But if they stall out for very long, I think their body basically has like a little abort kind of signal it sends. And a couple of things can trigger it. Just too much time can trigger it, and they think. You remember in the wild, if they get caught off season, it really messes them up. They can't be laying in the middle of hot season. You know what I'm saying? They can't be. They can't. They need to stay. They need to stay on season. And so if you're in your room and you got a bunch of girls with big follicles, and your room, like I said, temperature spikes, even if it's just 5 degrees, they all say,
Yeah.
"Oh crap!
It's a signal.
What season?
It's hot
is this?
season.
We're
Yeah.
screwing
Yeah.
up. Something's really
Yeah.
wrong here. We made a huge mistake. Get these things
It's
out
so
of
bad.
me, right?" And they just absorb them, or
Right.
if they're far too long, they'll ovulate and slug them out. There's two kinds
Right.
of abort: absorption or slug
This-
out.
Gotcha.
Slug out is almost when people get slugs, it's almost always because for some reason the female ovulated too quickly, and typically it's temperature.
Gotcha.
Right. It's a
It's
temperature
not
related
usually.
issue.
A lot of people think it's male related. It's very, very rarely male related.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's
and just to
it's
clarify,
just a lot of
2.5, you were talking, centimeters and not millimeters, right? That'd be like 25 millimeters. Yeah,
I
just
do it in centimeters. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, just to make sure people can follow. So yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
that was actually good. Yeah, I had no idea what we were
Yeah.
talking about. So that worked
I
out.
don't have the answers. It's just I've just experienced a lot of different stuff, and my gut says you kind of try to do a pairing at 2.5. I try to get a pairing at like before they have follicles, usually around 1.5, usually around 2.5, approximately 3 pairings if everything goes great.
Right.
And then
the perfect pairing.
If I'll ultrasound after a month after they're 2.5, if they've got to 3.5, they're probably pretty good. But if they're stalling and like not seeing a lot of growth, I'm gonna try to hit again. The temperature's low in the room, try to coax them over the finish line. But
yeah, see what you can do. Right. That's valuable information. That can save a lot of people a lot of time. Actually, knowing that, to be paying attention to that, and then find your own like intuition about how it kind of works too.
And I think the important message though too that we are hearing in a lot of what you're explaining, Justin, is there's no hard set fast rule. Learn, pay attention, listen to people, right? And experiences, especially somebody like you, Justin, who's had, I don't know, 10,000 clutches under your belt. I have no idea. Yeah.
At least.
Right.
Not 10,000 cluts, 10,000 babies. Yeah.
Or 10,000 babies. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. 10,000 clutches would be huge.
That'd be
impressive. So you're getting your hands literally on 10,000 babies. You have a lot of experience to provide us.
There's some relevant statistics involved there.
Yeah, but
you
it's
always
not
want to listen
the Bible,
to people who
right?
say they don't have all the answers. Those are the people you want to listen to.
Experience
and say they don't have the answers. Those are the guys who have the most knowledge. Yeah,
100%. Anybody that tells you they've got all of the answers, you might want to, back. See how this one plays out over here.
This isn't right. This isn't right.
But I think that kind of leads us into the next part of what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
if you guys want to shift gears a little bit, and
we've talked about we've talked about some pairings, so now we've gotten our eggs. We're starting to get to the identification phase. Right now, like the level of projects that are available, identification is starting to be, I feel like, really good estimates. I mean, how do you handle, making novel combos, first of all, and then just dealing with, 7-8 genes mixed in there? I mean, how does this go? Like where are we at with that? What's our best method here?
It's definitely a hard time, to be in, and the answers are not as forthcoming as they used to be. I actually don't even make that complicated a combos compared to some people, because I mean 7 or 8 genes in a combo, I don't typically do that. The problem is when you do 7 or 8 codons in a combo and they end up turning almost white, and then someone has to be a fortune teller in order to give you an ID on it. Right.
Yeah.
Mine typically aren't that bad, because usually I'm going for more difficult combos versus necessarily the number of genes. So typically, recessives are usually pretty easy to ID. But the codoms are in it can be a challenge, especially if you're working with pides that are high white or other stuff, right? I don't know the answer to that. It's really hard. And from a business point of view, there's 2 ways to look at it. There's the hobbyist point of view, and there's the business point of view. Like what do you think is in it versus what can you guarantee is in it? right?
Right.
Right, because one of them's going to cost you money.
Yes.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Right. That's the relevancy of it,
Right.
is a lot of times when these, very complicated recessive with codon mixed in combos with some subtle genes, like the difference between vanilla and fire, and yellow belly is obviously elusive. It's a tough place, I feel like, for a lot of people just coming into the hobby, especially when you see that list on Morph Market. This is a wild time. This is a wild time.
And the reality is on Morph Market, a lot of things are misidentified, and that's not an accusation, because I know some of mine are misidentified. I just say that as a matter of fact. I don't even know which ones they are, but I know there's some.
Right.
It's just, just how it is. So it's a tough time, I think. And the only way you can really, from a buyer's point of view, is just try to work with somebody who's reputable best you can. Somebody who actually has enough experience to give a more educated guess than maybe some people.
Right.
But if I could bestow one thing upon this hobby right now, it would be for everyone just to come to the idea that I've had to come to a long time ago, which is we just don't know on a lot of stuff. Even if you think you know, even if you're sure, we just got to breed it and find out. And I get a lot of people asking me every day to identify their clutches, and I consider it a little bit it's a blessing and a curse. I'm thankful that people trust me that much, right? I understand that it's hard if they don't have the experience. It's hard to hatch something and not know what they're looking at, and have these babies and they potentially want to sell them, but they don't even know what they are. Like I can sympathize with that.
Right.
But some of the pairings are pretty boneheaded, like they're making blue-eyed leucistics with poor genes, and they want me to identify it. Like, I'm sorry, the answers are not there. No one has the answers. And I work so hard in my pairings to try to produce combos that are relatively straightforward to identify. I try not to make anything white, if I can in a combo. I try to make things that are like mixed genes that, they all have their unique look. They're not going to overlap too much, whatever. But then I'm cursed with identifying everyone else's clutches that happen on some of my opponents.
Anything with yellow belly in it, I'm like, I have no idea. You should probably talk to Justin. Like, it's just
the
yellow belly.
Pretty good with yellow belly, but it's hard. It's really hard, especially with all these other combos that are whitening up the sides so much. We don't even see belly pattern. So you're looking for little clues, But the idea that we just don't know what's in stuff. And if you buy something, if you're going to buy cutting edge, you're going to likely buy something that is so cutting edge that you might find there's an extra gene in there. You might find there's missing a gene in there because the person who made it doesn't necessarily know all.
They've never seen it before.
Right. That's the thing. Sometimes you jump ahead. You hatch a baby that's well ahead of the missing link parts, right? They haven't seen ones in between. They think they hatched those. Plus, there's the fact that everybody wants to believe that they hit the combo they're wanting to hit, right?
Absolutely.
There's that little set that has all the genes. And I do it all the time.
Everybody.
I try really hard not to do it, right? You see a baby come out, and you're like, oh, I hit it. It's got all genes. It most probably doesn't. But you want it so much. So there's just a lot of different speculation going on. And I try to tell people, like, look, most of my collection, I think I know what it all is, but I could be wrong, and it's all an experimentation. I'm seeing what came out, looking for, I never take it for granted that I know something. And so when I get an unexpected results, the problem is if you start with a premise that's incorrect, you could build for years down the wrong path, thinking that you have all this stuff that you don't.
And it's
not.
not.
That happens sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Difficult.
So there's a business side where you're trying to guarantee it all, and I think that has kind of gone out the window too. Like,
So then I guess I like to reflect back on kind of the newer people coming into the hobby, because I think this is a topic again that they dwell on a lot. So is it appropriate for somebody to ask for a 100% guarantee right?
Yeah.
Or how do you, like, as a seller, how do you talk about that with somebody?
I think it's appropriate to ask. I don't
Mhm.
think that many people would be, I don't know. Again, the more willing they are to give the guarantee, the more I suspect their ID, I think.
Right,
You know?
right. Yeah. No, and that's important advice, right? You know what I
You know?
mean? Like,
I
yeah.
can actually almost the most straightforward thing, and I'll still say, look, I don't know for a fact. I just think so. And I
Right.
know
Right.
better than most people. You can't find very people who know more than me about it. Oh, I still don't know for sure.
Right.
And that doesn't mean like so. I have on my website now basically and I was actually following Ozzy's lead on this a little bit. Basically, we just can't guarantee codems anymore.
Right.
It's gotten too complicated. It's the price of being so cutting edge that
Right.
hey, if
Right.
I was making regular stuff like everyone else, it might be a lot easier, but it's just not that easy. So
Yeah.
I guarantee heads, of course, because heads I can control.
Right.
What's
We
happening?
know that what's being passed on is there. Right. Yep. Yep.
With codems, though, I just can't guarantee it, and it's not that I'm not willing to make something right, though. You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of am.
Yeah.
If I feel like someone really got burned by a mistake I made, then yeah, I'm going to do something about it. That doesn't mean I can guarantee like exactly what I'll do about it necessarily. And
Yeah.
from a business point of view, you have to know what your liability is, you know, what your exposure is, and so that's kind of the business side of it, is trying to figure out that balance between taking care of customers, being right, making sure they're taking care of much you can, at the same time, not being held hostage so you can't even do business because you don't have the answers.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. There is
And
a fine
there's a decent chance that the customer might get an extra gene or two that they didn't pay for. And no one ever tries to give me money back when that happens.
Right. Everybody wants the money back though when they don't get it. Yeah.
It's the other way.
So it's just, to me, it's like I try to be conservative in my idea of selling. I try, and I think that long term, the karma of being conservative pays off when people gain a trust factor. You know, so
right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Extra gene is way more valuable to a relationship down the road than saying it's there and not having it. You know?
Yeah. Right. From a customer standpoint, being undersold on what I'm getting and winding up with more, I'm always going to be happier. Right. So like, you know, as the seller taking that approach, but at the same time, right, you don't want to always be giving away stuff for free or undercutting. So approaching it from, hey, this is my best guess, and because what we're working with is going to command a higher price, you have to be willing to take that gamble with me, right? Type of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And that wouldn't be an unacceptable answer for a breeder to give a seller if they were asking kind of what's going on here, you know? Right.
Right.
So we're in a different age now, right?
Yeah,
It's
things
not
are wild, man.
super
Things
fast
are
stuff.
wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Crazy what's out there right now. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Joel and I were kind of talking about this topic a couple days ago, and that's what I pointed out, is that's part of the fun of what we're doing, actually.
Yeah, this is cool.
You know, there is some money, some monetary exchanges taking place to get some stuff. But if you're dealing with people that are reputable, have been around for a while, you know, go along. It's fun, right? Try and experience the whole.
Yeah,
if
good
once
time.
I breed it, I'll know. You know.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and keep it, and then you can breed it and ID it yourself. You know.
Yep.
Exactly.
So having kind of dove into that little daunting morph market page, there's a topic that I think is a cool topic to talk about. It's actually kind of maybe even two topics. It is the trick hurricane. Let's do a versus, and then the mahogany stranger man.
Fight.
Right. So we got fight night here. Maybe you could. I don't know. Let's talk hurricane. You know, what do you got? What do you got for us on that?
They're very similar. It's funny because I have the trick and hurricane. And
would you be able to show us two examples right now when we talk about this, or would it take a while to get them? And if it would
take a while, because I don't even know if I have a regular hurricane or a regular trick. You know, they're mixed up into other genes.
Right.
Right. Okay, sorry, just had to ask. Put you on the spot.
But across the board, though, I would
Uh-huh.
say they're highly similar. Okay, and I've seen a lot of variability out of hurricane and a lot of variability out of trick, where you'll hatch amazing examples and sometimes they're not so great.
Right.
I look at it from a weird perspective. I think I don't know. I'm very analytical in how I view these things, and so I look at myself. I look at it as, okay, what can we prove and what can we not prove? That's how I look at it. Right. So it's impossible to prove they're the same. All you could do is you could prove they're allylic. You could do that. I mean, again, don't have to put a lot of work in to do so. And it's even viable financially or otherwise to put that work in. You'd be 6 years down the road, man. Guys, I proved they're the same. I know everybody thought they were anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, for what purpose would somebody do that? Right? So I look at it like that. Like, almost from a lawyer's perspective. Like, what can we prove? What can we not prove? So we could prove they're allylic. We could never prove they're the same. We could prove that they're so similar that there's a difference. Maybe like butter and lesser. And again, this is all theoretical. We could prove they're different easier, because if we prove that they're not allylic, we'd know right there, right? Yeah. Again, we're talking about a lot of work, though. Someone's going to have to go get a trick. Someone's going to have to go get a hurricane. They're going to have to bring them together, okay? Right. The combo is going to look like something, right? We don't know what. Right. They're going to have to take that combo, breed it to a normal, right? And see if they all these breeds we're talking about is completely outside of the realm of what people actually want to do with their time in ball pythons, in my opinion. Right. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in doing any of those pairings. Okay. And so those are kind of the two options for finding out, right? Right. And then you do yourself, okay, if it's not worth it, then what are we arguing about? It's not worth it to find out necessarily. Maybe we just enjoy them both. And and if you think trick and hurricane do the same thing, then work with the cheaper one. You know, If you know, the same thing with mahogany and stranger. If you think that mahogany and stranger are going to be the same, then buy a mahogany, for crying out loud, and be happy.
Right.
You know?
Right. Why does it matter?
Why are you trying to kill us all, right?
I love it. That's the answer I wanted to hear.
Go get the snake you like. You know, if they're so similar that you can't tell the difference, then don't spend $10,000 on one or whatever it costs right now.
There you go. So, that's another good piece of advice to take away.
And that's just practical. That's just completely practical. Yeah. So on the trick hurricane, I think I love the hurricane project because I'm in it more deep. I'm deeper into it. I'm not going to breed them together because I want clarity in my pairings. I want to know that if they are allylic or they're not allylic, I want to know what line I'm working with and then, you know, what I got. Okay. Yeah. I like them both, though. They might end up having very, very, very similar combos down the road where in the end I feel like it doesn't matter. But right now, I'm just keeping them separate and enjoying them. And I think that's the best you can do. I don't like the idea of people trying to co-opt a name for marketing reasons, because that's where the rubber kind of meets the road on all this. If somebody says, "Well, I think they're the same based on what I see, based on these pairings, whatever," so I'm just going to start calling mine by the other name.
Right.
To me, that's not ethically correct.
Right.
Just because somebody put a lot of work into it. They put a lot of work into specifically the hurricane. The trick never really had anybody who went to bat for it like Hans did the hurricane. The trick, maybe it would be right there with the hurricane as far as everything goes if somebody had made it their sole purpose in life to develop a project to make it amazing. Right. So Hans did that with the hurricane, and he has reaped the rewards of that. And as a result, people are now want to change their name to Hurricane for a reason, right? They want to change the trick
for a reason,
for a reason. They're not changing their hurricanes to tricks. It's because of Hans' hard work. And so to me, there's an ethical part of that where, listen, if you have tricks, call them tricks. And if people think they're the same, then they're going to buy your animals because they're so much cheaper. But don't co-opt the name that somebody put blood, sweat, and tears onto.
Correct.
In order to sell your animals under their hard work. So that's my feeling about it. Yeah. Same thing. Same thing for stranger. Exactly the same for stranger mahogany. I want the information that'll be much easier to find out because the super on the Zoom on the Mahogany is so iconic and easy to tell that theoretically, I think that if you could prove a super stranger had a black super or breed them together and you got a black super, it'd be really easy to know it's a Leos allelic.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there who want to make it into a conspiracy. Like IRES has been withholding this information. And I've had some talks with him about it. He seems like an up guy. I also can't explain why it's taken this long to find a super. It makes no sense to me unless there isn't one.
Right.
So I can't.
It could be
just
similar
from a practical
to
point of view,
like leopard, like a leopard super. Right.
If that is the case, then we know it's not a. Then we know it's not a.
Right.
It's not. Right.
But my point is, if they want to make it into a conspiracy, well, all these people are getting ripped off, and they're all the Mahoganies. That's pure speculation, complete speculation. And I like to look at it as what would be wrong. Say we didn't find out what the, say we didn't find out if they're the same or not on the Mahogany and Stranger. Okay, what would happen? Well, the Stranger would slowly decrease in value, just the same as it has been. Right, more people get it. Slowly decrease in value.
Going to go down
until eventually it's around the same price as the Mahogany. Right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No one, just like any other morph, no one is injured in that process.
Right.
Nobody was taken advantage of.
Right.
And if we find out they're the same, if we prove it, prove it, not just speculate. If we prove it's the same, then Stranger will likely cost correct a lot down to Mahogany levels approximately.
You don't think you would see maybe a meeting in the middle? Right, where you would see a slight increase of Mahogany and a fall of Stranger a little.
Maybe
a
little bit.
Yeah.
The reality
do you think that's
gonna? I don't like playing with people's money by making speculatory stuff. Like especially on that, it's so easy to find out. Let's just do it and find out, and not take people. Let's not take money out of people's pockets by saying that you somehow have insight into whether or not they're the same when you don't yet.
When you don't,
right.
And again, if you like Mahogany as much as Stranger, then buy a Mahogany and be happy. Stop trying to make the rest of us miserable.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
I love that.
Is a lot of times, right, the person in that online conversation that's like, well, they're the same. They're not the same person, 5 posts before that's like, I just bought a Stranger for X amount.
Right.
And then, saying they're the same, right? Because that you're not promoting the purchase into a project that you just went into, even if it's the line, right, that you paid more for at the end of the day, then you're rocking that and you're going to market that animal for what you think it's worth and the hard work that went in to make it like that. Right. Yeah.
I love it. I think the thought too is a lot of times the individuals that are, on the internet saying this or that, whether it's, Trick, Hurricanes, Leopard, or Stranger, Mahogany, a lot of times they're not even in the project themselves, any of them, and so it's like, just buy the projects you like and work the snakes you like. That's kind of how
we're learning together. We get all the information in the end. And I look forward to it very much. In fact, I will try my best to breed a Mahogany to a Stranger this year, just to do my part, and absolutely tell the results. But in the meantime, you're not going to hear me spreading any opinion about it other than let's find out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's another thing too is people weighing in on projects that they have no stake in. It almost seems like they're trying to light the firecracker in the crowded room and then close the door behind them, right? And see who jumps.
Everybody comes with everybody.
Right. People always get people's lives, people's investments at stake, and so I don't want to get people in their investments.
Yeah, it's all speculation.
Good people. Yeah,
definitely.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So I have maybe a question since you are working both lines, Hurricane and Trick. Have you seen maybe a consistency in better Hurricanes more often per clutch or better Tricks more often? Like, is the gene prominently stronger in any line? Do you see any of that maybe, though there are similarities? Like, do
I
you
don't know if
have
I've made
better
enough
tricks?
in order to say.
Right.
I don't know if I would have made enough to be able to make that claim either way. I probably
Right.
made 5 or 6 clutches of hurricanes, but they've been dominated by clowns. So, you know, you don't get to see a lot of regular hets, you know, and I probably made 4 or 5 clutches of tricks. And they've all had lots of other codoms in there. So that's hard to speculate on. I will say that I have seen some tricks that are very, very subtle. And I've seen some hurricanes that are very, very subtle. And I've seen excellent examples from both. So I can't say which one's more often though necessarily.
Okay.
Right.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. Now, you know, I forgot to mention this right when we first started talking. What about Blitz? Is that the redheaded stepchild between the two? Like everyone's
it's a Me Too one. Like, oh yeah, I'm here too.
What's your
I don't know
opinion
anything
on
about
that?
it. I mean, I know the Blitz from what I've seen looks similar, but I've never worked with them or really even looked at one really closely to see how much it has the same kind of hallmarks or not.
Yeah. I see Vivid just put it in there. This all goes for Blitz. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I take his word for it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Blitz was a little more West Coast before Trick was. Right? Yeah, major. Well, it was Susan Hardy, and then Major League right behind her. You know, and that's and again, it was just one of those projects that didn't get kind of the right marketing at the beginning, and nobody, like you were saying, fighting for it, and I think that matters.
All these genes need that. They need that, especially the subtle ones, because these subtle ones can turn out to be really good, but they need someone who's willing to put in the work long term and show how good they are. You know, things like Spot Nose and Red Stripe that, you know, I've been credited for bringing them back or whatever. But the reality is they've been around a long time. It's just they kind of fell to the second tier before the good combos were made. You know, before the potential was shown and the price comes down, price comes down to a certain point. People are like, well, it's not an investment animal anymore. So I'm not going to overlook it because I know it doesn't make anything crazy. But then someone shows it does make something crazy, and the whole cycle repeats. And all morphs need that. They all do.
Right.
Yeah.
So that question kind of arises then right now a little bit is, would you, coming into the hobby, focus more of your time on finding a gene that maybe not a lot of people you think are working with and really, really work it, or find a gene that you like and really, really work it, though it maybe worked a lot? Like clown, for instance, obviously there are a lot of clowns out there and a lot of different ways you can go. You know, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a recessive. Let's just go maybe a codom, something like that. What do you think you would spend more of your energy on?
I guess it depends on your budget. You know, if you're trying to come in and just break your way in on a really limited budget, then finding something that you feel like is good but not is you know, undervalued is probably the way to go. If you want to just really rock, you're going to need to spend the money and get into where the game is happening, kind of thing. Because it's a little bit of a long shot to pick a morph like an underdog morph and hope it makes it and
does great. Right.
You're going to probably be the one who has to make it that way. If you know, or unless you can stumble onto something really great. That's tough because there's a lot of morphs I think that maybe they're morphs, maybe they're not. A lot of dinkers. People put a lot of stock in dinkers when they're getting started, and they think that they're going to make some big progress. But the amount of development that you have to put into a new codom, especially to make the market want it, is really significant. I think a prime example of this would be Josh Jensen with the acid. Because Josh had a snake with the acid that looked a lot, in everybody's opinion, including mine, looked a lot like a leopard. And so when Josh first offered one to me years ago, I told him, like, hey, I like it. I think it's great, but I could buy a leopard for $10,000. So why would I pay $25,000 for an acid that looks like a leoperd? That was the climate. That was the climate at the time. And leopard was established, and acid wasn't. Well, I wish I made the wrong choice. I should have chosen the acid at the time. But the point is that he, in obscurity almost, spent the next 4 years developing the acid project into something that people did want when it was overlooked. And the amount of snakes that you have to hold back because you don't let a
yeah.
project out, but you don't have the cat out of the bag before there's any value to it, right? Like you have to literally put animals on the shelf for years after years after years because you know that once you put the value in, all those animals worth a lot of money. And if you start letting them out, flipping them out the door for cheap when nobody cares, then when you do make it big, you're just competing with 100 other people, and there's nothing to it. So
That already have
really,
it. Right.
It's a difficult, really difficult path, and it requires a level of fortitude and longevity and stuff that few people have. I'm not even sure I could have done necessarily what he did.
Right.
It's a hard path.
Right.
Yeah.
Dedication. Like you were saying.
That's why I see very few dinkers ever really make it big. Because
Right.
people can walk that path for that many years correctly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
And that's, when you were speaking earlier about the differences between lines, I feel like you kind of were really talking about, you're also buying these people's time when you're investing in these projects, and that maybe is why the value of the line is better, though there are similarities to other snakes. The project is stronger.
You're buying the name, you're buying marketing, you're buying the feel of the snake, the combos that have been made. You're buying the whole thing. When you buy into a project, and the name is
it's
important.
not just right.
The name's very important, right?
Yep.
In the end, I guess you kind of know in the end, because what will end up happening when all prices are the same, eventually
one will win out.
One name will win, and you'll know which one the owner fought the hardest for.
So which one won, Banana or Coral Glow?
I think Coral Glow.
Oh no!
Right. Okay.
I don't like Banana very much. I still have bananas because I refuse to rename something.
Right.
I'm old out.
So Coral Glow.
I name it whatever is sold to me as, I call it that. But Coral
me
Glow
too.
Me too. I like Coral Glow.
Yeah,
I like butter more than lesser. So.
Yeah.
True. So real quick too, acid confusion, similar, same.
Seems to be the same. Same.
Okay.
And I would say there's some evidence to that more than just looks. There's evidence that there doesn't seem to be a super form of each that's visual. That would be a pretty big coincidence if they weren't the same.
It's so weird that leopard acid confusion, no super, right?
It is odd.
That is so weird. Yeah.
And yet not a lilac. I was confident.
Yeah, not a lilac.
Leopard.
Right.
I was confident that leopard and confusion was going to be a lilac. Confident.
Me too. Yeah.
Right. I thought you put them together, you maybe tell it's super, but it's gonna be a lilac, boom. And I remember the first pairing I ever did, where I proved it wasn't, and I was like, mind blown. All bets on the table.
Right.
Acid and confusion are not even genetically similar to leopard at all. Although they look very similar.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Super
We have so
crazy.
much to learn. That's what I'm saying. Like people start going off about this confusion mahogany. I'm like, nothing. Let's find out. Yeah, do the work.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
So many times. I've been surprised
That's
so
got to
many
be
times.
like a meme somewhere. We got to
Never
clip
cheating.
that. You know nothing. That's got to be like, that's got to go all over the place.
That's we're all in this together.
100%.
You know nothing. You're right, man. This is complicated stuff, and it takes so much time. There's a ton of time involved with this, between breeding and eggs, and the whole thing.
Yep.
Right.
It's crazy, but
it is
fun.
It's like I kind of like this bonsai tree growing kind of. I mean, obviously these are living animals. I mean, I know trees are living and all of that, so there's a difference. But the amount of time it kind of takes a bonsai artist to develop a good tree is about the time that we're looking at to get our project started. And in a decade, you have a really nice tree. And in a decade, you've got a really nice project. Is kind of
you get 10 years of something, you can make some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're working with.
Yeah, man. So this is a patience thing, right? Like as much as fast as we want it to be, this is a patience thing. So
yeah, it's cool. We did have a question come in earlier. I think was the difference between Arroyo and Rio, I believe it was.
Not the difference, but the thoughts on that project.
Thoughts on
it. We had a super chat come in from Tom West. Thank you, Tom. So,
I'm not in that project at all.
I was wondering. I was going to ask you. You have nothing? Oh, interesting. Wow.
And
Okay.
Wow.
only because I have a hard time. Like I see the Rio combos, but it's almost a recessive. It's not that easy, in my opinion.
Been debate
Right.
on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really subtle codoms, for sure. But no, I think they're cool. I remember when Dan Wolf made the first Rio, I think everybody lost their mind about it. But then see, there's an example of a guy who developed a project but then kind of left it, and
True.
it kind of got thrown out to the wind and to a bunch of people, and it's not.
In his
it's not
defense,
had
I
any
think he
real-
was retiring at the pinnacle of that project. He was just kind of like, I'm done, guys. I'm buying the motorhome. I'm out.
I'm not gonna. I won't bash him too hard, but it did do the projecting services.
No.
So it kind of got left, and it got left to a bunch of different people who are picking up the pieces.
Right.
Trying to reinvent it, but with no clear, there's just no clear person
direction
that you say
and
the guy for it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because a bunch of key animals went out to a bunch of people, which didn't leave one person a clear direction on how to take it,
Right.
And then too many cooks in a kitchen always ruins the meal at the end of the night. You know what I mean? And that was kind of,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it still has lots of potential. It's just going to need somebody to, to pick it up. And unfortunately, a lot of this requires an audience. You have to have, be able to show people what you've made or somehow figure that out. And that's marketing for you. It takes a lot of work. It's more than
People
just
have
the
to see
animals.
it.
It's a lot of work, right? You get it out there to people.
Yeah.
But usually all these things really require is one crazy combo. Really crazy combo. Like for me, the Pompeii made the Red Stripe project, right? It made the Red Stripe project.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I made, I don't know if I've said this before, but I made probably 10 Red Stripe clown combos before the Pompeii, but I didn't want to show any. I felt like it would stumble out of the gate if I showed those.
Right.
And then I made the Pompeii.
Right.
I'm like, all right, this is the one that makes everybody want it. You kind of have to work. We work for a while to develop that one thing, whether it be the Rio clown or the or the whatever. I don't even know, but
whatever it is, right?
Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right. You show that animal like, what? We gotta have this. We can't make this any other way. We gotta have that
This
gene.
is crazy.
So we all got to get it now.
So that kind of goes into your facility statement earlier of where you end up underestimating, right? A little, because you're working with Red Stripe. You're not producing anything yet that you're like, okay, this is it. Like, how many holdbacks did you have from the Red Stripe project before you hit the Pompeii? Did you have a bunch, or?
I had a whole, well, it wasn't just Red Stripes in general. It was Red Stripe Clown specifically, because a lot of people have Red Stripes.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That year, I made probably 10 Red Stripe Clown clutches before the Pompeii one. And on all of them, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I was kind of excited about them, but it wasn't until the Pompeii that I hit it. And, I could just as easily have missed on that animal and spent a whole other year doing it,
Right.
I don't know.
Would you have kept going?
I don't know. I probably would have. I think I probably would have just gone ahead and revealed what I had if I had missed that.
Yeah.
Just revealed what I had, and it wouldn't have been as big a deal as it ended up being.
Right.
Interesting to
you
reflect
can't
back, I guess. So.
Yeah, you can't really write that script again,
Yeah.
But I probably had a couple dozen Red Stripe Clown combos on the shelf, at that point. But once I made the Pompeii, then I could sell them. They sold themselves. It's super easy. At that point.
Right.
So I think a lot of this is
there's
a lot of showmanship and marketing. It kind of goes into all this, and some people that comes more naturally than others. But you have to think about it from the outside perspective. Is how can I put the best spin on this project? How can I? Because when you put value into a project, you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for all the people who already are working on that project, which usually there's others who are already like halfway there. They're automatically going to get a big benefit from you doing that. There's all the customers who buy into the project. The higher you can spin it at the beginning, the more everybody's going to do coming down as it becomes more common again.
Right.
And so I believe in like giving the animals every bit of what they're due as much as you can. Be creative. We all benefit. Rising tide all boats. So.
Absolutely.
Well, right. Yeah. And I think that goes to even establishing new projects, I suppose, right? Like, don't come out of the gate too soon. You may end up jeopardizing the whole project,
It could have been
impressions, you can't
something
go back.
incredible.
Yeah,
Right.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. You get one first impression. That's it. That's why they call it a
Mhm.
first impression. That's it. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pivotal.
Interesting.
And that
Right.
can be pivotal for an entire project, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So speaking of, I'll scoop you guys here. We're doing the redhead project. We're
Yes.
unveiling the redhead
Yes.
clown in October.
Okay.
And that'll be the next
Okay.
red stripe clown. So
Nice.
it's really
Right.
good. It's really good. Yeah.
Are you doing a premiere release?
I want to.
Like yeah,
I want
dude,
to.
that
I
was
was
a
going to
lot
do it
of
ahead
fun.
of Tinley, but Tinley, of
Yeah.
course, is not happening. So now it's like I pick a random date. It feels kind of wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm going to. I'm kind of waiting on one more clutch to come out, and but it's a really neat project. I'm excited about it.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
can't
There's
wait
been a
till
lot of chatter about redhead. There's been a lot of people
Buy
asking
them
about
now.
redhead. I mean,
Buy them
is
now.
there-
Yeah.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to tell us other than just buy them now?
It's just it's a gene that it's pretty subtle. It's really cool. It's
Right.
pretty subtle. There's no known super yet. I've had 2 4 collectors supers and not managed to get one, but it's a very small sample size.
Right.
Not managed to get a super yet, but I think it's out there. It's kind of subtle, but when you put it the right stuff, and there's one gene that I found this year that's really common that just unlocks it. Like,
Oh man,
the
I can't.
combination is like, crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
nothing I've ever seen.
Okay.
Cool.
So it took a while, but I've had the gene for 5 years now or so. It took a while. We found the gene this year. We found it's great in clown, fantastic in clown, and then now I'm waiting on the clutch to find out if I can get clown plus that gene that makes it go boom in one animal.
Right.
I'm hoping to get that before the reveal, but we'll see.
Sweet man.
That's
Oh,
a
this
big
is-
one then.
Yeah.
I'm
that's a-
excited.
that's
I'm
a
excited.
cool
about it.
project.
It's all about it.
Thanks.
It's a lot of fun. So
That is fun. I can't wait. Yeah.
That's
So
gonna be
talking
good.
about some little more obscure projects and things, we did have a question come in from Elegant and wanting to know some more details about the Mario gene. I know I've watched your price list and seen some animals come in, come out. What do you think it works well with? What are you doing with it?
So Mario is a very unique project in the sense that it was misunderstood from the beginning. The gentleman who had it, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, so sorry in advance for that. But he originated the project. He received an animal that was proved to be Kodam. He line bred it and made these crazy light Mario. He called them Super Marios. Okay, so they look like Marios, but they look like desert ghosts. They're incredible.
Right.
And he ended up selling me that project. He got into a situation where he needed to sell his collection. He ended up selling that project, and he was really good to deal with. Great guy. And I ended up with the original pair of Marios that made those supers, and I got the 3 supers that came out of it.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so I thought, man, this could be the next big thing because we have a Kodam here, which the super form looks like a desert ghost. If we could have a Kodam desert ghost, how much easier our life would be,
Right.
And it looked, in a way, they looked better than a desert ghost. They looked incredible. They were looking like adult desert ghosts as babies, more or less. Much, much faster. And so I reproduced them the next year. But then last year, I'm like, well, this is a little too good to be true. And I ended up breeding one of the supers to a desert ghost and proved that they are desert ghosts. They weren't super forms after all. It was just a coincidence that the Kodam that he worked with. If you remember way back in the day, remember the Josie ball?
Yes.
He made and Joe Ellis, I think he made the super Joe. No, he made the Ultra Josie. Remember that?
Yes. Yep. The Ultra Josie. Yeah.
Yes. That almost for sure was identical project.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Josie was doing the same thing, kind of like it was a very nice enhancer. Right. Very nice enhancer. Yeah.
It looked basically identical to the Mario. The other gene looks like a Mario is the Jungle Woma. It looks basically identical to the Mario. The only difference is the Jungle Woma seems to have a different super.
Oh, okay.
The puzzle back,
is it more pattern influencing the?
No, I would say No, I would say
They are
a Jungle
equally-
Woma and a
Okay.
Mario look identical. I couldn't tell you
Okay.
the difference between them.
Okay.
Right.
And I have a lot of Jungle Womas from previous. I've been really careful to keep the Marios and them separate because you'd never be able to unseparate them, I don't think. But the super
Right.
of the Jungle Woma is the puzzle back, and it's almost a tri-stripe looking animal. It's really
Mhm.
unique.
Right.
And it's really pretty. But the Mario does not have a super like that. The Mario has a super that is mostly just a very reduced pattern version of the same thing. Doesn't have
Right.
that the striping and everything. So it's like a different gene, but you would never tell them apart side by side in a single gene form. So anyhow, that's
super
the long
interesting.
story. But it's a
Yeah.
very interesting project. I love the Mario Desert Ghosts. Hands down, they blow away any Desert Ghost combo I have in here, even if it's multi-gene for the most part, because they look like Xanthic Desert Ghosts as adults. Or
Right.
they get the sides, they look like Xanthics, and they got a crazy pattern, and crazy white flames on the side, and they're just amazing. So
Yeah.
Right.
I undervalued that project for a little bit. When I found out it was the same as Desert Ghost, I'm like, oh, well, they're just Desert Ghost with one codon. No, they're pretty significant though for the future, making cool stuff. I think for that project.
Very cool. So maybe we'll finally get that in the codom, like the desert, like not Desert Ghost, but desert was meant to be, kind of like,
Yeah,
because
right.
we've all been chasing that
We
codom that
It was such a gift back in the day, and we've never been able to find another one that does that.
Yeah, that was a
Right.
big bubble that was burst on
Yeah.
that one.
It's cool though.
Yep. We did
Well,
get
that is wild.
what's that?
I said that is a wild story about the Mario. That's crazy
Yeah.
to me. That's
It's cool.
wild, man. Would have never known that. That's cool to know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but
I was
yeah,
disappointed it wasn't a
Adam.
codom Desert Ghost, but still cool.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
So good.
But yeah, Adam, you were going to say Brian.
Yeah, Brian Bode sent in a super chat. So thank you, Brian. What percent of babies do you keep as holdbacks per year? Do you have something set?
It's not. There's no rule, but I would say the average has been about 10%.
Okay.
I'd like it to be
Nice.
lower.
Okay.
That's a lot of babies. Because I probably hatch about, I would say a little less than 10%. I hatch about 1,200 babies a year on average. And 10%,
Jeez.
that's a lot of babies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
1,200?
I'd like to keep it, maybe 80 to 100 babies, holdbacks if possible. But it's hard.
Okay.
It's,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
hard to choose. You got to worry about what you're putting out. Again, like you're talking about before, like what you're putting out into the wild before you really developed a project. You got to hold a lot of stuff back for that reason alone.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So-
that's a crazy thing to think about, to consider when
Yeah.
you're doing this.
Because I know a lot of guys that try and keep smaller numbers will kind of turn and burn it. You know what I mean? They have a female drop eggs and they go, okay, this clutch is going to go for me. I know at least mom will be in there, if not more. Females being sold right now, like gone, right?
Adult female, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, adult female, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot,
Yeah.
like I know quite a few guys that'll run their whole collection kind of like that, depending on what the female is. But like,
That's fine
Yeah.
if you're doing codoms, but if you're doing multi-gene recessives, there's no strategy that works on that really. Like
Right.
Level.
because that mom is a foundation and can help even build further, right? So you wouldn't
Right,
want
and
to necessarily
all you're
drop
running
her.
is math problems essentially. It's all you're doing is solving
Right.
math problems. And a double het girl, you're gonna think, well, I have a visual to replace it with. Yeah, it's just you need the chances. You need the chances.
Right.
The odds are too long.
Right.
And the numbers are too narrow. So
So why
yeah,
not keep the double hat?
I do sell double heads, but it's a
Right.
hard choice. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna make another one, just get rid of this. No, not like that at all.
Right.
I have
Yeah.
to know that I have a certain number of visual heads on the shelf that are producing to where I won't even really miss this girl anymore. My numbers are being fixed by another female, not just, oh, I got another one.
Right.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it though. Just on the chance, you see it as, well, this is a double het. Well, no, it's still another chance. It's a whole clutch of chances that you're really actually getting out of that double het over the visual, I guess. Trading
And
one
if
for
you go
the other.
triple het or quad het, you're onto a whole nother realm. of difficulty chances and long term. We're going to end up keeping our females a lot longer in the future than we have in the past.
Right? I don't think it'll be such a turn and burn. You know what I mean?
Multi-recessive, yeah.
Right. And so looking at the recessives out there, especially the ones that have a strong foundation in the market, clown, obviously, pied, hypo, xanthic. Do you think the market's in a place where we can, as breeders, no longer choose, well, I have a pied project, I have a clown project. No, I need a clown pied project, or I need clown hypo project, right? Like, you know.
Yeah, so, I love this interview so far. This has been my favorite interview. You get to ask some questions. It's been really fun. I'll be honest with you. This is my favorite interview I've ever done.
Right on.
You guys are asking the right questions. These are the questions that I wrestle with constantly in my head. You know, how to look at this for the future, and not be caught up in how things have been in the past to where you lose sight of where things are headed. You know, I agree with you completely. It's just gotten exponentially more complicated, and managing a cutting edge project now and 5 years from now is going to be exponentially more difficult than it was 5 years ago.
Right.
Exponentially. And it's not going to be, it's no laughing matter. It's going to be a big difference. And so every day I'm thinking, man, do I have what it takes? Am I making necessary changes? Am I thinking of these in the right way? Because you're right. It's all these projects now. We used to think about, I got clowns. I have 12 clown clutches this year, 5 clutches. Now, everything's a jumble. And I'm going through my racks and I'm like, okay, I got 10 quad heads here, but there are quads for all different quads. Like none of them are compatible with each other. You can't mix and match, really. They're really straightforward. And so there's some overlap between certain ones. You're like, well, maybe I can sacrifice making this gene, put those two together, and then you have pos heads, and it's just running. And then the numbers you need to run a project well is significantly higher than it used to be. So to stay at the cutting edge, it starts to become more difficult for the smaller keeper.
Right.
Put it this way: say a cutting edge in multiple projects becomes more difficult.
Going to be more
for the smaller
keeper.
Right. Because I'm looking at like the number of males I have to hold back in order to stay relevant in a lot of different areas. It's going to become higher every year than it is now.
Than it is
now.
That's
a little scary, you know. I mean, something if I was going to sacrifice and be like, these are my signatures, and I'm just going to. But I like to.
You're
going to
do
everything,
pick.
you know. I want to keep leading the charge wherever I can. So
because you also never know. I mean, you never know when a gene pops, where that right combo comes out, and there's like, oh wow, okay, perfect.
I want to be the one who finds it. So
yeah. Or even be just geared enough to quickly shift if you need to. Right. It's about that pivot.
It's extremely financially good to be second place on a lot of stuff sometimes, because you find out what works and you just hit it.
And then
but you're in
boom.
position. You got to be in position.
The
person who's in first place and waste a lot of time looking at a lot of dead ends first before they find it. Second place is just right there.
Right there.
Right. The innovators usually make the most money. I think, like, statistically and stuff like that, finding the product and then improving the product. That's why clown does so well, because we have a similar characteristic that does great in a lot of things. It kind of brings us back to the original morph that we like, but it improves, and like.
Well, it's like having a new species on hard mode, really.
Right.
Like you have a whole nother species because it's completely different than a ball python. There's really no similarity between a clown and a regular ball python. It's compatible. It's great with so much stuff. And to put all our ball python combos into it is doing it on hard mode, because you're putting into a recessive on top of that. And I think so. There's different waves of clown. This is a very interesting topic. I feel like different. We started with clown, right? And then pastel clown became the thing. That was like I consider that first wave. Pastel killer clown. Everybody's saying pastel killer clown. Possibly made, right?
Yeah.
Then it died off. No one cared about clowns for about 2 years, right? Then I made the fire clown and the firefly clown. And that started bringing me back a little bit. And we kind of went that realm of where we're more neon, more pretty.
Then
Spot nose is what just stratosphere, you know?
Right.
Spot Nose,
Yeah.
you got Spot Nose
Yeah.
and Batman, and suddenly, we were on another level. Clowns were the hottest thing ever. So that was
Yeah.
phase 2. In my opinion, that's phase 2. We're in phase 3 right now, which is we're making clowns with Spot Nose and Yellow Belly, the 2 key genes that are blowing up on the sides. We're
Right.
going the opposite of reduction. We're going crazy clowns, much
Right.
pattern as you can get, blowing up red sides, much color. Just that's where we're at.
Right.
And I feel like we're pretty far down that road. We might start to feel like we're getting to diminishing returns.
Yeah. Clean,
and I feel
clean
like the
clowns
next
are
one
coming
is
back.
yes, clean clowns coming back. Well, the
Yeah.
two ways: Desert Ghost, okay, of course. All of our
Yeah.
current combos, we can make them even harder. Put them with Desert Ghost, make them all better, right? So that's
Right.
endless, fruitless exploration that we're never going to get to the end of that, really. We might get to the point where we feel like we've done enough, but we're never going to get to the end of it.
Right.
But the next thing is, in my opinion, is the G-Stripe clown.
Right.
Like that to me is a whole nother realm of potential pattern that is different than every previous generation of clown we've made so far.
Yeah, it's insane.
And we haven't even scratched the surface. Ozzy made a couple killer animals from that project this year.
Right.
And so is Garrick DeMeyer. I'm working that project really hard. I hope to also leave my mark on it in the near future. But it's going to take many years to develop that to where it could be as well.
So there you guys go. You got an exclusive into the future.
Wave 4, baby, it's coming.
Right? Wave 4, here it comes.
Next stage clown. This is something Adam and I, we had talked about on the phone. We're like, okay, we need to talk about, like, we get where clown's at, but where is clown going to be? Where is it going to be? So this is crazy to hear, there's, it does do well. It does well. I haven't seen a gene it doesn't do well in, so it's
and to give Shane some credit, he's been saying G-Stripe clowns are the future before anybody else. He's first. Shane is not.
First tonight. All right, we'll give him first tonight.
And Desert Ghost G-Stripe clowns, put it all together.
Oh man, bam! Sorry, Shane, you've been trumped already.
Yeah, bummer.
Oh man.
No, I like it. Well, Jesse, it's been an hour and a half. We try to be a little cognitive of everybody's time. I know it's getting late there, and you're a busy guy, obviously, hatching out. What is it, 200 plus clutches this year on your deck?
Yeah, we were at 209, I think, and we're winding down pretty hard, so it won't be too much.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, 209, man. That's a couple. That's a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's all the good ones in the last, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's where it's at, right? Yeah. Well, we really do appreciate you coming on here. We do have some random different lightning round questions that we're gonna walk you through really quick. So kicking this off, what do you think your spirit animal would be?
You're asking an extremely analytical person a very non-analytical question.
You're going to sit back, you're going to meditate.
A human being, okay? A human being. That's a spirit animal. Is that a first? Is that the first answer?
A human being is your spirit animal. Okay, yeah. You're right where you need to be, man. You're right where you need to be.
I'm living my best life, man.
You are. You are. All right. Yeah. Okay, we nailed that down. Okay, so then, as a human being, what's a pet peeve that annoys you the most?
Oh boy! On a daily basis, it has to be something to do with ball pythons and sometimes the interactions I have. Maybe a spirit of entitlement that some people have.
I thought the ball pythons had an entitlement. I'm like, those selfish.
That's a pet peeve that they want to eat. Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one. Okay, I like that.
No, entitlement people, they feel like you're entitled. They're entitled to your time because they know you off the internet.
Right.
It's not that I've always been kind of known as the guy who responds to every message and everything. And that's a tough position to be in because I kind of having to give that up a little bit just in order to survive.
Right.
And keep keep some semblance of my sanity. But
Yeah.
a lot of people are really, really, really nice, and it's just a few that aren't. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That's a real
Karens and the Kevins of the world.
Yeah.
Back off from
you know who
JK.
you are.
Yeah. Yeah. You know you are.
They'll never even know that I'm miffed. Though.
Of course, that's the whole purpose of the Karen and Kevin. They don't even know. They don't even know.
Right. Okay, so if you travel back in time, when do you think you'd go?
1776, sometime like the Revolutionary, like the founding of the country. I think that'd be really interesting.
That's
Very
a brutal year. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, right afterwards, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. 1779.
I don't know. It's just a time of obviously a lot wrong with that age too. But you can say about any age, you go back, there's a lot wrong with this world, including that. But no, I look back at that and I think, well, the amount of potential that's just flowing through the air for the country and for what's coming, and
it's
trying
new.
to architect something that's not been done. And,
Right. Yeah.
So,
Crazy.
yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. 1776 Exotics is in the house tonight. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
76 Exotics. It's like Outlander. Have you guys watched that show?
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. The later seasons, they get into revolutionary periods, and I'm like, holy cow, man! If you knew what you know today, going back then,
Right.
Yeah, crazy, man, crazy. Yeah, it's a cool thought experiment, traveling in time. I go down that road. I dabble with that from time to time. It's always fun. But we've already asked you, button or fly. Do you want to remind everybody? Are your jeans a button jean or a zipper fly? For the road, really? Yeah, I knew it. So Justin's team zipper as usual.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but Justin, man, thank you. This has been awesome. It's been really fun tonight. We had a great turnout. It's been a lot of people in chat. We want to thank you all so much. We do apologize if we have missed any questions. We definitely do our best. If you want to comment on this video after, we'll do our best to try and relay those to Justin.
Seriously, you guys nailed it though. Really, I feel like you hit on a lot of important topics that people get overlooked. You got
thank you.
Real, I don't know, the real meat and potatoes of a lot of stuff where a lot of people, miss it, go right over the surface. So,
all right,
I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I love going through the thought exercises with you as well. Like, that's the fun part about this.
Yeah, that's what we like. We like getting you going like that. That's cool. Yeah, we like that. But
nothing.
Right.
Yeah, right. Somebody has to make that clip.
We'll make the shirts.
Nothing. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you all, chat. Obviously, we'll be here next Wednesday talking about this interview, I'm sure, for a while.
Yep.
Justin, really, truly appreciate your time, man.
Till next time.
Till next time. We'll have to have you on again. But good night, everybody. See you.
Awesome.
See you.